I've taken the wooden dashboard trim out of my Tesla Model Y here. So the reason why I removed this is because I've had to remove my sexy strip, which would normally be stuck on the underside of the vent here. And even though this is the version 2 of the sexy strip with better adhesive, it had come unstuck after only a matter of days. The high temperature of the cabin in the summer and then cool air-conditioned air blowing out of the vent just ruins the self-adhesive tape, and it comes unstuck just like it did with version 1. So what I thought I would do is stick the sexy strip on the lower trim. So that's why I've removed the dash, because my theory is it's going to be better stuck on the lower trim than hanging on the upper trim and gravity trying to pull it down. So I've got the spare roll of the 3M VHB tape that came with the version 1 of the sexy strip. So I've removed the slightly wider 3M tape from the version 2 here from this surface, and I'm going to put the new tape on the underside, because you've got to stick it from the other side when you're putting it on the lower trim, because you've got to keep the wire at the same end of the dash. So when you lay the sexy strip here on the silver trim on the dash, it will overhang these curved bits on either end. I've got to move it that way a little bit more, but anyway, I'm just holding it down with a bit of masking tape to get a feeling of where it's going to go. And this wire needs taping to the underside there so it's not visible. But also in the middle of the dash here, which is behind the screen, it cuts out a little bit along there and then go back to the full width. So I'm going to put the strip along the edge of that, and that will then dictate where I mount the strip. So for the rest of it, it's going to be in a little bit. So that's the plan, but whether this tape is going to hold it on there, I'm hoping it will a little bit better, because this is nice and smooth plastic. So I'm going to clean the plastic. I'm hoping that will stick it down better than sticking it to the underside of the dash, which is a slightly textured finish. But of course this tape is 1mm thinner, or narrower should I say, than the tape that comes on the version 2 strip, which was on this surface, which I've already removed. I've just got to clean a little bit of glue up from there, just to get that a little bit clean and smooth. I might as well, while it's easily accessible, put the self-adhesive strip there and stick that down. So let's see if this works. So I've got some alcohol cleaner here, and I'm cleaning every surface before I put the tape back on this strip and stick it down onto the dash. So that's the 3M tape stuck to the strip, and if you're wondering how much you use from the roll that they give you with the version 1 of the product, that's used nearly all of it. There's just that much left on the roll. So this is nearly ready to stick down now, and I'm holding it in place with the masking tape, and the strip is recessed in a bit here because of the cutout in the dash along the middle behind the screen, and that sort of puts the end of the LEDs in line with the curvature of the plastic here. I'm ignoring the connector and the wire there, and at the other end, the end of the LEDs is sort of on that curve as well. So even though this end doesn't seem to be protruding the same, the LEDs are lined up in the same place. So that's what's more important. I'll worry about what to do with the wire, I think, when it's in the car, but I guess that's going to have to be held back along there. But anyway, let's get this stuck down back in the car and we'll see what it looks like. This channel has had over 15 million views, yet only has 40,000 subscribers, whereas it should be 3 to 4 times that, because over 90% of the viewers are not subscribed. Please do. It's completely free. It's only a click for you and it really does help. So it'll be very interesting to see what this is like. So with a bit of wiggling about, you can get the dash roughly in the right place on the passenger side, and then get it in the right place on the driver's side, and I think we can leave the wire like that. I'm assuming we can get it like that. We may have to get it behind this plastic. I'm not 100% sure actually, but I think before we got it through there and coming out there, so it's coming out in the same place, so I think that's going to be fine. So we can now push the dash that way and push it down. So let's plug it in and see what it looks like. So it does look a bit strange because you're not used to seeing the strip at the bottom, but I'm sure you get used to it. The wire on this side is fine. It's deep enough that you don't really see it. That's going to fall away in that cavity just fine. Possibly rises up there a little bit, but that's just because of the thickness of the connector. And on this side it possibly kicks up a little bit at the end of the strip, but it is all stuck down properly, so not much you can do about that. I'm just going to run this tool along, give it another push down, but time will tell whether this is a better solution. And I'm not sure whether I'm going to include a long-term review in this video or whether I'll film a later one, but anyway, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to find out if this is a better long-term solution. So that wire routing worked just fine. I've got all the trim pieces back and the rubber door seal back, so it's just now a case of putting this last one on there, and that's all hidden. So I'm going to keep the climate off for the rest of the day if I use the car, but I don't really intend to use it actually for the rest of the day. So this is going to have the rest of this afternoon and all night for that adhesive to properly cure before I turn the climate on, because I think with this strip the issue is that it gets very hot during the summer, during the day, and when you turn the climate on you then got cold air blowing across it, and I think that's why it's coming unstuck. It's that extremes of temperature. This is still going to have just as much cold air blowing across, but I'm hoping, because it's stuck down, I'm hoping for two reasons that's going to be a little bit better. Firstly, is because this silver trim is smoother than the textured sort of rubberized plastic on the top dash, so I'm hoping it's sticking to that better, and also you don't have gravity trying to pull it down, so I'm hoping that's going to be a better long-term solution. There's also been a new firmware update today and an app update, and I've done both of those. Let me just call up the release notes. So it has done a few little changes on the strip, something here for the Highland and Juniper models, not applicable in my case. Fixed battery preheating trigger, and major security and fixes. So yeah, no noticeable difference on my version in my 2024 Model Y here. This firmware update was primarily for their dash and other products, nothing of any note to the strip. But anyway, time will tell whether this is going to be any different. One thing it will help with is it's going to have less reflections in the windscreen, because that strip is a good centimetre further inside the vent here, so there's going to be no reflections off the dash, and probably less reflections on this grey trim as well, which you could also slightly see in the windscreen, so that's going to be better. So I'll end this video here and I'll report back in the future if this starts coming unstuck again, or indeed if this actually is a better solution. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please do click the thumbs up as always. And if you'd like to know more about the Sexy Strip from Enhance, below is a link to other videos I've made on this product, because I have done quite a few videos on this. Okie doke, I'll see you on the next one. If you like the video, please do click the thumbs up button, and leaving a comment also helps too. Plus, of course, subscribe if you're not. If the video saved you time or money, a little support via Ko-fi or the Super Thanks button would mean a lot. There's over 1,300 videos on the channel, so have a browse, use the search, and have a look at the playlists. And here's 2 videos you may want to check out.